because these things will enhance the elemental cleansing into your system, which will lead to the higher pranic flow into the body. And if there is higher pranic flow into the body, then definitely it will lead to higher focus and alertness into the system. And when there is a higher focus and alertness into the system, meditation will happen. To improve the quality of your meditation and the depth of your meditation, there are few things that you should always take care of when you are doing meditation. There are few tips that I'll share with you when it comes to enhancing the quality of your meditation. So the point number one, which is very important and which is very much needed to enhance the quality of your meditation, is you should have higher level of focus and alertness into your system. Unless there is enough focus, unless there is enough alertness into the system, you would not be able to meditate. You would not be able to go deeper into your meditation. So it is very important for you to maintain the focus and alertness. Now there are few practical things that you should always take care of when you want to increase the focus and alertness into your system. The number one thing, which is very important, that at least 4 to 5 hours before you try to do meditation, you should avoid heavy meals. For example, if you want to do meditation at 10 p.m. in the evening, then at least whatever you want to eat in your dinner or whatever the food is, you should at least be able to eat it before 6 to 5 p.m. because at least 4 to 5 hours of gap is mandatory after a heavy meal before meditation. What generally happens is, I think you also can observe in your system, when you eat something which is heavy in nature, let's say you eat lunch in afternoon, you would have observed in your system that heavy meal causes lethargy, heavy meal causes laziness. And if there is lethargy and laziness into your system, then your alertness and your focus goes down. So it is very important to avoid heavy meals at least 4 to 5 hours prior to meditation. Second thing that you can do to enhance your focus and alertness is avoid alcohol at least 8 to 10 hours before meditation. Let's say if you drink alcohol now, at least for next 8 to 10 hours, even if you try to do meditation, you would not be able to do. No matter how hard you try. Maybe you will sit with your eyes closed and cross-legged and spine erect, but you would not be able to become meditative. It is very important. So these are the two things that you should always take care of. At least 4 to 5 hours before the meditation, you should avoid heavy meals, and at least 8 to 10 hours before the meditation, you should avoid alcohol consumption. The second thing which is very important to become meditative is that your body and your mind should be at ease. When I say ease, these are two things which looks contradictory in nature, but both the things have to be maintained. Your alertness have to be maintained, but your body and mind has to become at ease. Because if your body and mind is not at ease, your focus would not be enhanced. So there are one major thing that you should avoid to enhance the ease in your body and mind is, you should avoid any kind of caffeine consumption at least 2 to 3 hours prior to meditation. When I say caffeine, either it's tea or it's coffee or it's cigarette or any kind of product which has caffeine. Because what happens when you consume caffeine, and I think you would have seen in many people's life, like at least in my life, I have observed that so many people out there, when they feel some kind of lethargy, when they feel some kind of laziness, when they feel some kind of, I would say, dullness in office or in their workplace, then people keep saying, okay, let's go and smoke the cigarette, and let's go have tea, and let's go and have a coffee. So what actually caffeine does to your system is, when caffeine goes inside your system, what it does, that it creates a certain agitation into the system, because caffeine is a very strong nervous stimulant. So you should avoid any caffeine product at least 2 to 3 hours before the meditation, so that there is no agitation into the system, so that your ease of the body and ease of the mind is maintained. So this was the point number 2. The point number 3, which is very, very important and which is extremely important, I would say, to become meditative, to experience the deeper dimensions of meditation, is the flow of pranic energy in your system should be at higher level. When I say pranic energy, because this is one of the points about which many people get misunderstanding, because I am not talking about the biological energy, I am not talking about the strength that you have or the energy that you have. I am talking about the pranic energy or the 7 chakras which is there into the human system. So the flow of pranic energy into your system has to be at a higher level, which really helps you to have more focus and alertness. So there are some practical tips that you can do to maintain the flow of prana into your system. The first point that you should try to have is, in your diet you should try to consume more and more live food. When I say live food, the food which is in its raw form, either it's fruits or it's nuts or it's vegetables or it's salad or it's sprout, which is there in the raw form, which is alive. Because if you consume at least 50 to 60% of the food in your diet which is in alive form, it somewhere adds to the prana and it increases the pranic flow into the human system. So it is very important that at least 50 to 60% of the food which is there in your diet should be in raw form. Second thing which you should avoid to maintain the flow of the prana into the system is, you should avoid the consumption of garlic and onion, because these are two foods which are very much negative in their pranic nature. If you consume garlic or if you consume onion, it takes a very heavy toll into the human pranic system. So it is very important for you, at least try to avoid as much as you can. If it is practically not possible for you, you can at least reduce the amount that you consume in terms of garlic and onion, because these are the two things which take very heavy toll on the pranic system. So that was related to the things that you consume to maintain the pranic flow into the human system. Then there is something called elemental cleansing, which you can do to maintain the pranic flow into the body. To understand the elemental cleansing, it means that if you look at any physical creation which is there in the universe, is basically the combination of 5 different elements, which is earth, water, air, fire and space. So it is very important that if you want to maintain the flow of prana into the system, then these 5 elements should be in a very stable and exuberant state into your system. So there are some practical tips which will enhance the elemental cleansing into your system, which will lead to higher level of flow of the prana into the body. So the most important element, and which is higher in terms of composition into the human system, is water, which is 72% in your body. So it is very important that before you do meditation, you take a good shower. When I say a good shower, just try to take the shower in cold water, not in the warm water, because if you take shower into the warm water, it somewhere creates laziness into the system. So try to have a water which is cold and then take shower of that. What it will do is that it will clean your water element into the system, which will definitely help you to have better prana into the system. Second thing which you can do to maintain the stability of the earth element means you should always try to be as closer to earth as possible. When I say as closer to earth as possible, which means if you have some open space in your house, or let's say there is some garden in which there is some grass or something, you can just go and sit down there on the grass without putting any kind of rubber mat and do the meditation there. So the closer to you are to the earth, which means the function of the earth element in your body will become at a higher level. So that is the step number 2, which you can do to enhance the value of earth element. The third element which is there in the system is fire. The practical tip which you can use to enhance or clean the fire element in your system is, you can use a lamp. Let's say if you're sitting in a room, or if you're sitting somewhere, anywhere in the place, I would say, even if you're sitting in an open ground, if there is a lamp either of ghee or of any kind of oil, then it clean your fire system. So that was the third element, which is fire. The fourth element is called space. To have better functioning of the space into the human system, the one practical tip that you can use, try to do the meditation in open space. When I say open space, if you have the access to the open space where you can see the sky, in that space what happens is the function of the space element in your body happens better, which leads to higher pranic level into the human system. So that was the practical tip that you can use if you have possibility to do the meditation in the open space where the sky is visible to your eyes, then it's good. The fifth element which is there in system is air. So again I'm trying to say, if you are trying to do the meditation, just make sure that if you have possibility, the practical possibility with you, then you try to do the meditation which is a place surrounded by some nature. There are some trees, there are some plants, and there are some gardens, which gives a better quality of air to your system, because the cleaner the air, the cleaner the air element into your system. So these are the 5 elemental tips that you can use when you're trying to do the meditation, because these things will enhance the elemental cleansing into your system, which will lead to the higher pranic flow into the body. And if there is higher pranic flow into the body, then definitely it will lead to higher focus and alertness into the system. And when there is a higher focus and alertness into the system, meditation will happen. The fifth and the last point, which is very important to enhance the quality of your meditation, is to lower your outward bound sensory perceptions. When I say sensory perceptions which are outward bound in nature, because if you look at the kind of activity which meditation is an inward bound activity. What we are trying to do with meditation is you're just trying to go deeper and deeper within your system, not outside the system. So these are the 5 sensory perceptions that you should always take care of, either it's ear or it's eyes or it's nose or it's touching or it's tongue, which is taste. So what practically you can do to reduce the outward bound activities so that there is no disturbance to the inward bound activity that you are trying to do, which is called meditation. So outward bound activities what you can do is to reduce the hearing things. You should make sure that you are sitting in a quiet place to do the meditation where there is not so much of the noise, because these 5 sensory organs are like this. If any kind of perception is happening through these 5 senses, it suddenly sends message to the mind, and the moment there is any new message which comes to the mind, your focus and alertness get disturbed. So try to make sure that you are sitting in a quiet place, there is no noise around you, so that there is no message which is coming through the ears to your mind. Same things happen with your eyes. Try to sit in the darker place as much as possible. When I say darker place, there should not be too much of the light in front of your eyes, because even if you close your eyes, you can practically check it out. If you close your eyes in a pitch dark area, the blackness in your eyes would be felt more, but if you close your eyes in front of a light, you will majorly see the colors in your eyes even after closing the eyes. So it is very important that when you are sitting in a place, it should be as dark as possible. The third sensory organ which is there in your body is the smelling. So when you are trying to do meditation, you try to make sure that there is not so much of the fragrance around you, because the moment any kind of fragrance which comes into your nose, you will suddenly get a message in your mind, and your mind will start making some assumptions out of it, which will again disturb the focus and alertness of your system. So make sure that there is not much of the fragrance around you, especially any kind of cooking or something which is happening nearby you, which will definitely send message to your mind and it will disturb your system. So that was the third outward bound activity which happens through nose. The fourth one, which you can try with the tongue. There's not much of the things that you can do, because definitely if you're doing meditation, you're not eating anything, so there's no problem with the tongue. The fifth sensory organ which is there in the system is your body or your touch. So you try to make sure that when you're meditating, neither you are touching something nor something else touches you. Let's say even if a small crawling creature is moving on your skin, suddenly they'll be a message which goes into the mind that yes, there is something which is moving on your skin, and it will disturb your focus and alertness. So you should maintain the depletion of these 5 sensory organs into your system so that your outward bound activities reduces, so that you can focus more and more on your inward bound activity which you are doing, and which is called meditation. So these are the things, these are the practical tips that I wanted to share with you in order to enhance your meditation. I'll just give a conclusion to you again. I'll repeat the process. The number one thing which you should always remember is absolute focus and alertness. To do the things for your focus and alertness, you should avoid at least heavy meal 4 to 5 hours before meditation. You should avoid alcohol at least 8 to 10 hours before meditation. Ease of body and mind is very important, so at least the consumption of caffeine should be avoided 3 to 4 hours or at least 2 to 3 hours before meditation time. Flow of the prana into your system should be at a higher level, for which the one thing which you can do with your diet is at least 50 to 60% of the food that you consume should be in raw form, and you should avoid to eat garlic and onion. The second thing that you can do to maintain the flow of prana into your system is the elemental cleansing. There are 5 elements that I explained you, and the activities that you can do to clean the 5 elements which I explained you can just go back into the video and see again. And the fifth one, which is very important, is to reduce the outward bound activities which is happening through sensory organs or sensory perceptions. So you should try to reduce the outward bound activities so that you can focus more on the inward bound activity. So these are the things that you should take care of. These are the practical things. If you really do one thing, I can guarantee you 100%. If you do these things, the quality of your meditation will rise for sure. And these are the practical tips. These are not some kind of philosophy and ideology I am telling you. These are the practical things that you can do in your life. I'm not saying that you should be able to do all these things, because many times in the practical lives it is not possible. It's like this: if you're living in a city on a 15th floor and you do not have a ground or a garden or something, maybe you would not be able to sit on the surface. That's okay, it is understandable. See, these things are like that. It doesn't mean that if you follow all these things you will become meditative, but at the same time it doesn't mean that if you do none of the things that you will not become meditative. There are still possibilities that you do not do all these things and still be meditative, but for that it takes an enormous amount of practice, and it takes a long time to reach to that level where you can just be meditative even with the opened eyes. It is possible. So these are not some kind of strict rules. These are some things which will definitely enhance your capacity to become more meditative, especially when you are in the beginning, or you are just trying to improve your meditation, you're just trying to improve your spiritual experiences, and you are trying to understand the life at much deeper level.